Hi folks, it's Tino here with a live title winner special after an incredible night at Rugby Park, which saw Celtic win the Scottish Premiership for the third time in a row. Joined for this one by James. James, what a night. Talk us through it.
Well, G-Doc in the comments has nailed it early doors. One of the sweetest title wins in recent years. More than that, in years and years. I said it in February when we were supposed at the lowest ebb. If we could get over the line, it would be one of the sweetest titles that we've ever won. And so it proved. And it was funny last night. Obviously, that's the job needed to be done last night. But I feel like I left it all on the pitch on Saturday. I was just puffed out. So last night was like the confirmation, but they had to go and do it, and they had to do well. They didn't have to do it in style, but they did it in style, and they let us enjoy it. They didn't let us get to half time, nothing each. It wasn't scrappy. It was just a dominating win. They were brilliant. They were just really at it last night.
Yeah, do you know, not that it would generally have been in doubt the way Celtic have been playing, but 5 minutes in, you're good to go. And we'll get to all the match stuff just shortly, but just in general terms, James, you'll have seen the stats doing the rounds, and we spoke about some of them on our way out the ground last night. 18 title wins of the last 24, so we're talking turn of the century here. 18 title wins from 24. Within that, 6 trebles, including a quadruple treble, 9 in a row, 38 trophies in total. It's complete dominance, and you get folk down south. You watch Premier League stuff at times, and you compare that to. So we were lucky enough to get tickets. We were there last night, and the buzz you get from watching that, and the energy and the atmosphere that's there. I don't think you can replace that in many places in the world. Definitely not the Premier League. And there might be debates about Argentina and Brazil and different countries, but it's something really special when Celtic lift a title, isn't it?
It's just a passion, It's not a passing hobby for us. It's not something we do in our spare time. It's something you do every day. You saw the way that players like Joe Hart, who's been around the block, he's just standing there in awe. And I know part of that is where his career was before he came to Celtic. He's maybe he wasn't really looking at winding down, but maybe it was going to wind down on him. And it could have done, and it didn't. Ange brought him in, and he's just standing there looking at it going, this is mental. A Wednesday night, everyone's got away from work early, bombed down the M77 for that. And see, stats wise, the last Rangers captain, if you happen to be a Rangers fan, you have my sympathies. Last Rangers captain you saw lift the Premiership trophy was Davy Weir. Davy Weir turned 54 this week.
Happy birthday, Dave. It's mad. There's all sorts of posts doing the rounds. There was a really decent, like a well thought out post on, I think it was on the huddle board, but it's been shared on Twitter, just about Celtic's trophy win over the years and what it's meant to folk and how long it's taken Celtic, to enter in this, people call it this, decades of dominance and whatever term you want to use. But that's not to lord up. That's not to be that guy. But it's a lot of hard work that's gone into it, and it's Celtic are getting all the rewards now. We've had ups and downs and different things over the years, but it's all ours for the moment. James, I mentioned there 18 titles, 24 years. On that, then, what is it that makes this one so special?
Rodgers spoke about it in his interview last night. There was so much to manage out with coaching. He said the coaching's always the same as it is. He knows what he needs to do. He knows how to get the message into players. He knows how to shape a squad, galvanise a squad, get them ready for games, all that stuff. And there's a lot of things that Rodgers hasn't been able to do with that squad in terms of augmenting it because the transfer windows were so poor, exemplified by the fact that only Adam Idah out of the last 2 transfer windows started a game between Saturday and last night. But he got on with the job. He didn't make excuses. And it was really tough. And we went through our injuries and we didn't whinge about it like others are doing right now. We just got on with it. It was just a job to be done. And we are sitting there January, February, you're dropping points. He just kept going. He said, it was the first time he'd ever heard he was doubted, outside Celtic, in the media. And he's never doubted himself. And that's so big for players. And it's not arrogance, it's just, we'll get there. And when they got into that kind of final furlong of the last 10, 11 games, they just knew exactly what they were doing because they had the leader there.
Yeah, definitely. Before we kick on, huge thanks as always to everyone who joins us in the live. A lot of the usual faces and great to see. Pat McLaughlin, Paul O'Donnell, Ronnie, Paul Brady. Special thanks to Pat Scanlon, who's gives a thank you and a couple of quid here. Thanks for subscribing, Pat. Jedi Boy, Jim Hunter, Mickey, various others. Thanks as always for joining us. As always, if you've got any questions or comments for myself and James, we'll do our best to get them between now and the end of the recording, whether that be about the game specifically or maybe more broadly speaking about this title win and what it means to you. James, just a final question in that area, at least for now. Where does it rank in terms of your favourite title wins? Myth was speaking about this on the weekly show. 2008 title for Tommy was special for him, and a great tribute, by the way, for Tommy Burns ahead of the game there on his anniversary. But, you've seen a lot of them. You're a wee bit older than me. You've seen a few more than me. What's been your favourite, or where does this rank?
It's up there, So if you go Love Street, centenary season, O'Neill's first, Angie's first title for Tommy, they're all in the mix, and it's right in there. It's so hard. It's so hard to take a team from a treble and go through what we went through and still get yourselves over the line. Get yourselves over the line in style in the end. Is it better than any of those? I suppose because some of the other titles were, easier. Not that any titles are really easy, but O'Neill came in and blew everything away. But it was the first, and it was the first on this run, by the way, in this 24-year run since 2000. So I think you just put it in the mix there. But for it to be in the mix with those titles, that tells you an awful lot. Of 18 of the last 24, and this is in one of the best ever in my lifetime. It's up there.
Yeah, and I don't think that's, you hear people talk about the whole recency bias thing. There's a lot of folk, we speak to a lot of folk, mates and other fans and various people through what we do here at the Celtic Exchange. And so many have got in touch to say the term is the one at the top of the show, the sweetest ever. This would be one of the sweetest ever. And I think that's it. And we're living the moment. You've seen, I'm sure, like me, you've spent a bit of time on social media, since the game last night. It's been incredible. There's some really funny stuff. There's a lot of good humour among Celtic fans in general. But there's just a lot of really emotional stuff, videos, inspiring stuff, you name it. And it's just, listen, it's not been the perfect season. And we know that. And there's been ups and downs. And there's been the challenges of Brendan Rodgers himself coming back and not being fully received. And we'll get to Brendan. We'll do a bit on him later on. I think he's back now, James. We'll debate that. But, fans were united singing his song last night. But it's just, there's a real outpouring of joy on social media, isn't there? What's been your kind of standouts? Any highlights on that in the last day or so?
No, I mean, I prefer the snidey stuff to the joyous stuff, to be honest with you. If I'm going to be honest, that's what I was after. There's an account, Celtic First. He must have had a bookmark a bit that thick. Bookmark file that thick. He's just been going through them one by one all day. I'm not sure how much work he's got done today. But he's rattled them all off, just firing them back. It was like, that's a title won in February, top of the league, all this kind of stuff. We've all been in football too long to be calling things early, especially tight, and then us getting back ahead and just not looking back. So yeah, I prefer the snidey stuff on social media. There's been some beautiful stuff. Obviously, Tommy Burns, his anniversary there. Lovely post from Darren Day, actually. He put out, couldn't believe it, 16 years and just the greatest guy. The tifo before the game, both sets of fans roundly coming together to applaud TB himself, and just hearing wee memories that but it's always nice to be reminded of Tommy Burns. So there's both. There's the snidey and there's the poignant.
Yeah. I mean, you like the poignant, but the snidey's your favourite. It's good to know where you're at, James. Comment from G-Doc, who says he's 67, seen a lot of Celtic title wins, no doubt, over those last 67 years. And this one's in his top two. Let us know your top one, G-Doc. Interesting to hear that. But yeah, I think there's a reflection here, James, and a reflection on social media. Just how big a win this has been. Just so much to enjoy. Let's get to the game itself. Obviously, there's quite a lot to cover there, no less than 5 goals. But, you're in, not easy to get to Rugby Park, by the way, but that's a different story. But once you're in, we get in just ahead of kickoff, fans in full voice, real high energy stuff. And you're hoping, as always, that that's mirrored on the park. And I think we're not even 5 minutes in when we get the opener. Celtic had been popping about nicely up until then. But it's Adam Ida, and interestingly, James, he's the guy that gets the nod over Kyogo. Huge game, huge call for Brendan Rodgers. I thought he had a brilliant game. And what a turnaround for him. Somebody tweeted that he was on the bench for Norwich against Leeds at some point mid to late January. And now in May, he's scoring goals in a title win. He was top man on the night, wasn't he?
Yeah, and Rodgers explained why, and I really like that. That insight. We've talked about that kind of thing on the show where, should either really have started against Dundee when they're going to be so physical? Is it the game for Kyogo? Is it better to have him off the bench on 60 minutes? So Rodgers is in that line of thinking to say, well, they're going to be extremely physical. Let's put someone in that not only can handle it, loves a physical game. Up the other end as well, there's a couple of, this is part of the kind of narrative on the goal. There was a real physical battle between Vassell and Carter Vickers, and they were both having a great time. They were both really enjoying the tussle, and CCV was running it most of the time. Vassell was getting his wins as well. And you're just hoping the referee lets that go because no one's really fouling anyone. It's just a physical tussle, and it's not just a part of the game. It's a really enjoyable part of the game because it's a battle of their physicality. Two good players. I really like Vassell. And then you've got the same thing. Diaz all over Ida, and he's fouling him all over the place. So much so that Ida's trying to shrug him off. He pulls Diaz, pulls Ida, and Ida, he's behind him, arm back, and it catches, glances Diaz in the face. And it's kind of like, that's kind of what you get. You made that happen. Ida comes away with the ball strong, gets it out to O'Reilly, who gives it to Jamesy, back to O'Reilly, I think, and then what a beautiful ball from Matt O'Reilly. And Ida's position is perfect. Having started it all, he's made his run, but he's held off just that wee bit, keeps himself on side. But as soon as O'Reilly releases the ball, he's on to it in a flash. It's in the net, and their place just goes bananas.
And it's that kind of delivery. It's just begging to be finished. We'll get to Matt O'Reilly in a moment in terms of what he's brought to the party. But that delivery, it's a striker's dream. He does very much a traditional number 9. And he's done all his hard work, done all the donkey work outside the box and in the build-up, as you say. And then he's shown the desire to get himself on the end of the cross. And it's the perfect start. There's the usual VAR check, there always is. And you're waiting just a moment to see. But we get the green light and we're good to go. Just on Adam Ida, I thought it was really interesting. So I thought Celtic in general, but particularly the first half, played some brilliant stuff. And what they were doing really effectively was breaking Kilmarnock's high press. So the defenders and Joe Hart were showing that composure to play around them, pop it out to Greg Taylor, back to Hart, out to Johnson, and all these kind of things. But a few times it got to the point where Kelly were pressing well, pressing aggressively, and Celtic had to find an outball. This is where Adam Ida steps in. He's a very different player to Kyogo, and Kyogo's got a whole different range of skills, which are equally important and impressive at times. But Ida, time after time, was shown up as the option. When they couldn't play the short pass, when they couldn't work it around, Taylor would just clip it into around about the halfway line, and Ida was shown. And that's right up his street. But he's also got a bit of work to do when it gets there. But he's holding it up, he's holding off his man, and he's popping it out wide or whatever it may be. And it just allows Celtic to move up the park. And it's a great asset to have. And whether Celtic go for Adam Ida or not remains to be seen. I'd love him to. I think at ballpark 5 million is an easy call for me. But if it's not to be Adam Ida, we need somebody in that mould because you can see how effective that can be. Also, it worked well last night in that kind of game. In Europe, that can be a huge plus if you're under pressure, looking to hold or see out a lead and things like that. So Adam Ida can be delighted with his night's work, and I think he'll be pinching himself at just what's going on. Cork-born, 22-year-old Irish international. I think he's living some version of the dream there and really enjoying himself at Celtic Park. The second goal was not much later, James. I was going to say it's man of the moment, Dyson Maeda, but there's a lot of men of the moment. Matt O'Reilly's man of the moment. James Forrest is our man of the moment. Joe Hart is man of the moment. So Dyson's one of them. He tweeted kind of cheeky on Tuesday night saying, "We'll be champions by tomorrow," and he got a bit of stick for that. I think it's just a man. I think it's just a man confident in himself, confident in his teammates, and he backed it up. He gets the second goal on the night. Talk us through it.
There's a lot of good football, and there's been a lot of good football before this goal in between the first two goals. Only a space of maybe 7 minutes, 6-7 minutes as well. I think James had gone close with one, but there was it's that when the ball's up to Ida and he's back to goal, he's getting floods of support. Johnson's up there, Rio, Matt O'Reilly, Callum McGregor, Dyson. He's got options all around him, and we were creating opportunities from that. And it's one of those where it comes to initially, it's Rio finds himself with the ball outside. I think maybe even from Johnson, holds it, waits for the guy, and he hits this ball that is so slow but too fast for the defender. It sounds like a contradiction in terms, but it's a slow ball, but just fast enough the defender can't get to it. Johnson's round the back of him, and you've just got the kind of whole box at your mercy. So drills it in and dives into the right place, and that's you 2 up, and it's party time.
100%. And Maeda was buzzing. He's just, as I've said before, I'm repeating myself a lot these last couple of weeks, but I'm okay with it because there's a lot of things that should be repeated. And Daiza Maeda, loving life is one of those things. He's just really, really confident. He's a player. We've spoken in previous times, 12 months ago at least, about Daiza Maeda's mindset and that he doesn't get affected by things, or he seems to not be affected by things. If he makes a mistake, he just gets on with it. But he's also all of a sudden starting to show a bit more emotion, least of all his celebration, after the second goal against Rangers. But he's engaging more. He's tweeting like a madman. He's out there, and all of a sudden he's putting himself out there, because I think he now knows how roundly loved and appreciated he is. And it was great to see him get that second goal. We'll get to the third goal just shortly. I want to mention a guy who has been spoken about all season, and the debates will go on. But there was a moment, you'll recall, where Liam Scales steps forward with the ball, and he finds himself deep in the Killie half. Nobody comes, and he gets out his feet, and he just fizzes one with the left foot. I've not seen any replays of it, just, I'm going on real time, but it didn't look too far away. And I think if Liam Scales had scored a 30-yarder on the night, there'd have been pitch invasions. And I think that in itself, the fans absolutely appreciate and respect and admire Liam Scales, but it's also okay to do that while saying maybe we need to improve for next season. But looking at the here and now, you really need to credit Liam Scales for what he's done. All he can do is play. When he's picked, all he can do is do his job, and he has his moments, and sometimes he's a bit slack in possession. But without Liam, everyone plays their part, right? But without Liam Scales, you would debate whether Celtic would have got over the line here.
100%. That's the big thing I've said for a few months now. We are just debating is he good enough for the next level? Is he hit his ceiling? Is he maxed out the credit card? All that kind of chat. And that was my point. I do think he's maybe a level below where we want to get to, but that's because we want to step up. And you never know, he can develop and step up, because he certainly developed and stepped up this season. There's elements of his game that don't necessarily suit playing for Celtic, but they suit playing for a lot of good teams. But that doesn't detract from the fact that he is loved. He's a character, and he's got an attitude that is an example to not just young players, senior players that are already in the team, and young players coming through. And Ralston is very much in the same mold for me, that if you knuckle down, do the hard work, take your chance when it comes, then that's all you can really do. And he's done all that. I have seen the goal back. He's shot back. It is a screamer. It's a brilliant save. You could maybe argue it's just too close to the goalie. The goalie's able to get a good hand on it, but it's going in 100%. And that Chadwick stand would have just evaporated if that got in. Dean, who's on our football chat, is a huge Scales fan. I think he'd have ran all the way from wherever it is to Rugby Park to get him at the end of the game. So shame it didn't go in, but it didn't detract from the occasion.
Yeah, and Liam Scales, so he's played as big a part as any, and he thoroughly deserves his league winners medal. He should cherish the moment on Saturday, because he's absolutely deserved it. You're begging for the third goal, James, at that point, playing some brilliant stuff, just really enjoyable. It's match day 37, and it's one of Celtic's best performances of the season. They're playing it with real confidence. Yeah, you've mentioned that, Brendan and a couple of players indicated they didn't want to just stumble over the line and grab that point. Listen, there's a lot of fans last night where I said, I'll take the point. Let's just get the point. We get the trophy and we're good to go. Celtic, in terms of the players, were having none of that. And as I say, I think it's a two-way street. I think, the fans at the game and the players themselves, they fed off each other, and they were just playing with a real flair by this point, a real confidence. As I've mentioned, one of the real standouts, one of the real stars is James Forrest. For what he's done, particularly over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, something like that. And very, very fitting for him to get a goal on the night, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Cometh the tail end of the season, cometh the man. James has just been another one. You'd say, you're saying about if Scales wasn't there, where would our season have been? If Jamesy hadn't stepped in, where would have been, so many crucial goals and assists, just ones that got you over the line, got you going, got you, wins instead of draws, all that stuff. And it isn't, and it's back to good work from Adam Ida again. It's a ball into him, back to goal, working really hard, holding his guy off, knowing that Dyson is going to be somewhere, and he's just turned half a glance, just a wee quarter look, and he's got the ball and it dies in, and he just makes the space. And James is that now experienced, forward player, knows exactly where he needs to be, gets ahead of his man, and it's just side-footed into the back of the net. It's a lovely goal, and from a guy that just really deserves it and deserves every bit of glory and success he's had this season. Another, like Scales, just somebody that everybody loves. And I've got, my kind of criticism of James in terms of I've always thought he's had more to offer, but he's just such a likeable character and a great guy to have in the dressing room, and he's definitely my dressing room next year.
Yeah, you've changed your tune.
Good choice, winger.
Fair enough.
Like a guy that can cover both wings. Just, that versatility, being able to cover either wing, definitely.
Yeah, he's been spot on. And Dies in Maeda as well. In the first half an hour at Rugby Park, you've seen the full Maeda repertoire. You've seen some brilliant stuff. You've seen him failing to trap it out of the touchline. You've seen a great chance to cross and he kind of slips and all these things. But Miff called it, for every flawed cross, there's a cracker, just down the line. And that's what happened. He's flashed it across. James Forrest has made the perfect run. It's wide man to wide man. So if your left winger's coming down and it looks like he's going to do his thing, the real onus is on the right winger to break his neck to get into that position to get on the end of it. Forrest finds himself right in the middle of the goals. You say he can't miss it. It's easier said than done, but he's just got the control and the composure to slot it away. And he looks delighted. And James isn't a player that is overly emotional at times, even in some of the post-match interviews. He doesn't get carried away with occasion, but you can see the pride in him and you can hear the pride. He was asked, of course, about the fact that this title win equals him, and I think it's on 23 trophies for Celtic, alongside Billy McNeill, no less. And should we go on to win the Scottish Cup, that'll put him on his own in second place behind just Bobby Lennox. That is incredible. That is just unbelievable. And he's so modest about it. He's asked and he's like, yeah, sometimes I get reminded and I don't look too much into that, but at the end of my career, I will look back and, it's something to be proud of. But at the moment, he's living for the now. He's doing what Celtic players generally should, James. As soon as you win a trophy, where's my next one? What's next? What's next? Yeah. James Forrest has grown up with that mindset. He's been at the club since he was a kid. He's played under, guys like Bruni and, been managed by guys like Lenny, Brendan Rodgers, and all these winners. And he's just looking at, yep, delighted, loving things here. Got another game on Saturday. You've got to really credit his attitude, haven't you?
100% you do. But he doesn't know any different. He's always grown up as a footballer in that culture. We spoke about culture on the way down. Why do Real Madrid always know how to get into Champions League finals? It's cultural. It's just right all the way through the club. Why do Spurs keep losing no matter what they do? Why can't they win trophies? Why are Man U in the shambles there? Why can Rangers not win trophies? These are cultural things, and every year James has been there, it's been the culture at Celtic and beyond that we're going to strive to win every single competition that we're in, and more often than not, he has won it. He deserves everything he's got.
Yeah, 100%. So you're 3-0, James. You're going into the second half and you're just, buzzing for what's next. What were you expecting? Was there always going to be a natural slowing down of sorts? Were you looking for wholesale changes for guys to play their part? What was your mindset at that point?
I kind of slowed down when I expected it to slow down. Once it was a huge victory, and you start then thinking about ribbons and trophies and stuff like that as a player. So I believe. So the last 20 minutes, half an hour, give Kilmarnock their due. They kept going. It's easy for a team just to go, well, that's that. We've lost the game. We've got absolutely nothing to play for anyway. No point in killing ourselves. They were kicking things up until the last 5-10 minutes. I'm not saying I want to endorse kicking things, but they were trying to get the ball up. They got their goal that was offside. But we kept going as well. Celtic just in the start of the second half wanted to show good football, and then the guys come on and they want to show that I should have been starting. So there's always that healthy competition at Celtic, and we got the benefit of that last night.
Yeah, so no changes at half time, and it's the right call, I think. We've not had to wait too long for the fourth goal, and it's Matt O'Reilly. And listen, we've waxed lyrical there about James Forrest, Dies in Maeda, Adam Idah. You can't not discuss Matt O'Reilly. Only a few nights ago, he's winning, triple Player of the Year awards, Player of the Year, Players Player of the Year, and Young Player of the Year. And he's backing it up. Do you know, at one point, I said to Paul, who was with us, I think Matt O'Reilly's finding this too easy at this level. You were watching him; he was in cruise control, and that's against a fourth place Kelly side who have qualified for Europe, and they're getting lots of plaudits for how they've played this season. He was breezing by them. He was just really in the zone and really enjoying himself. And it's him who gets the fourth goal in the night. It's a cracking finish again, left-footed high into the net. He goes on to get another later on, which we'll get to. But his totals now, James, are 18 goals and 18 assists for the season. It's incredible numbers.
Yeah, it kind of makes a mockery of the Player of the Year awards. You've got a talent like that who's going to go in the summer for 25 million plus, unfortunately, and his numbers back up his valuation. And the season he's had, and he's been a huge part of why we are champions. And you decide a guy who takes penalties and is overweight is your Player of the Year. And I like Shankland well enough. I think he's a good striker, but he's not in the same ballpark as Matt O'Reilly in terms of a footballer. Matt O'Reilly is just a sublime footballer. That goal, just him in a nutshell. Have you seen that one back?
I've not seen anything back since the game.
So you'll enjoy it. Watching it live, you thought that's a cracker. Getting to see the replays of it, it's good work from Rio as a shot saved. Breaks to Jamesy. Jamesy working it, gets to Matt O'Reilly. And there's maybe like 2 or 3 players in front of him and a goalie. He just smashes it. And it's top right, goalie's top left. An absolute peach of a goal. And then 4, that is, you're doing, and you're well on the way.
Yeah. At that point, you don't know what it could end up. You're guessing that it could be 5, 6, 7 or whatever. But Kelly thought they've got an equaliser. Myself and Bridle done the pre-match on Tuesday. As always, we do the scoreline predictions. I think Bridle went for 3-1. And I said 1-0. Completely wrong, of course. I thought it was going to be edgy. What do I know? But what I did say was that I thought Joe Hart would be desperate for a clean sheet. He's now, at time of speaking, got only 2 games left in his professional career. And I just thought that, strikers live on goals. Goalies, by the opposite, live on clean sheets. And I thought he'll be going all out here to make sure he gets his clean sheet. Now, really, on the night, he wasn't troubled much at all. There was a couple of moments, and this was one of them. Turns out, eventually, it was offside, but Hart doesn't know that. He makes a decent stop. And then you've got to credit Armstrong, who I think's he's definitely a shining light for Kelly out in the right wing. He's curled a great finish. I presume you've seen that in replay as well. It's a great hit. But luckily for Celtic, it's chopped off. And actually, I was so delighted. The game, and at that point, the points were never in jeopardy. But I was really keen for Hart to pick up his clean sheet because you know how important it is to him, and you know how important Celtic has become to him. And we'll get your comments on him in a minute. But I just thought there's a real burning desire for him to go out on the highest of highs, and that means clean sheets and it means trophies. And I was just so pleased that that goal was called off. Sorry for Kelly, but for Celtic and for Joe Hart, he's in his own right now, and he's played as big a part as anyone, James.
He really has. Touched on it Monday night. I was doing a wee bit kind of recap of the last 10 games, not counting last night. And it's, guys like Ida and Forrest and O'Reilly are getting all the plaudits, and rightly so. But in all of the highlights for all of those games, Joe Hart is making at least 1, 2, 3 phenomenal saves to either keep us in the Hibs game, to keep us in the Motherwell game. Those winners don't mean anything if they've scored another goal and Hart hasn't, pulled off those saves. So we'd given up our tickets to cousins for Saturday, cousin and uncle, and it was looking like we weren't going to get any spares, which I managed to pick up today thanks to your good self. But it was looking like I was going to miss Joe Hart's farewell from Parkhead, and I wasn't too happy about that. Wasn't too happy about missing any of it, but I definitely wasn't too happy about missing Hart's farewell. And we're going to see it now. And as you say, 2 games left his senior career, and there's not going to be anyone more motivated in the dressing room than him. That they are enjoyable games, and that means a Scottish Cup win. So we'll be right up for that.
Since Joe Hart announced his retirement, I think we're going to cover this in the weekly show on Monday. We're going to talk about the moments of the season, the moments that swung things back in Celtic's favour. There's a number, and just off the top of your head, you're thinking of Adam Ida's header against Motherwell. You're thinking of, I know you've got a really good one, keep your powder dry on it, against Hibs, something that happened during that game. There's various others, but I think the moment Joe Hart made his announcement, I think what it done is it really galvanised the dressing room, because he clearly had the respect of all the other players. And I think at that point, and things were a bit up and down, weren't they? I don't know. I need to check the date they announced it, but kind of January, February-ish, something like that. But I think the players themselves needed something to pull them in a wee bit, more so than had been happening. And I think at that point they said, this guy's going out a winner. We're going all out here for Joe, and we're going to give a tank to make sure he goes out on the highest of highs.
I think that's kind of shown when McGregor went off last night. He spoke to Carter Vickers, and Carter Vickers gave the nod, because Vickers is vice captain, that Hart would take the armband for the rest of the game, however long was left in that. And, it's good that both Carter Vickers got his place as vice captain, but also acquiesced and let Hart take that armband. And it's not the first time he's had the armband a few times for us. But that tells you that he's that captain within the dressing room, as is Carter Vickers, as is Taylor to agree, as is Tony Ralston, and obviously Callum McGregor. And you're now at a stage where, at one point, maybe even last season under Ange, you were going, where's my captains? I'm looking for guys to stand up, and they're there now. But that shows you big shoes to fill. So you can't just sign a goalie. You need to sign a goalie with a bit of presence, a lot of self-belief, and can command respect in the dressing room as well as his own box. So over to you, whoever does the signing for Celtic.
Recruitment guy. But you've seen just what it meant to Joe Hart. So you're right. So Callum McGregor, he goes off in the 74th minute, consults with Carter Vickers, and then goes and puts the armband on Joe Hart. And they have an embrace. It's a real moment. Listen, you'd be heartless not to enjoy seeing it. It's just a real kind of moment between two experienced professionals. But then just to follow that up, when the players are celebrating post-match and they're coming towards the stand that we're all in, as is often the case, the team generally put forward the match winner, the main man, whether it's Kyogo or, O'Reilly's got 2 goals in the day, hasn't he? But it's Joe Hart. They decide this is the big moment. This is the title win. This is us over the line. And the full squad see fit to put Joe Hart forward. And he didn't let them down. He went for it. He was giving it big, and the crowd were fully behind him. And it was one of a number of really special moments last night for Celtic, and delighted for Joe Hart. He absolutely deserves it. But you know that he'll have been back focused this morning. What's next? 2 more games. Let's go. What do we need to do? So just delighted for Joe Hart. Really deserves it, and just a huge night for him, and one that I don't think he'll forget. He was interviewed and asked about what it meant to him. He says, I can't go there just now. Too emotional. I can't go into that place. But he will get there soon. There's going to be some great stuff post-season from Joe Hart. Let me get myself back on track. So a few subs just after the hour mark. Louis Palma, Kyogo and Kuhn. They 3 come on for Dyson, Maeda, Ida and Forrest. It's basically a front 3 for a front 3. And from Maeda, Ida and Forrest point of view, they've done their job. As a front 3, they've terrorised Kilmarnock, and they've each got a goal, and then they're replaced. What did you think of the replacements? Did it change the game overly? How do you think they've done?
Well, and it's a bit of a difficult judgment, because you're coming into a game that is 100% won. You're kind of in there to make sure that everything just now coasts towards the celebrations at the end, and make your mark where you can. But there's not going to be the same level of urgency that the first front 3 enjoyed, because they've gone and done the job for you. I thought Palmer was trying hard and wee bits and bobs. Kind of have quite a Palmer performance. It was quite a Kuhn performance as well. Showed he can do it, then stopped doing it, then did it and got an assist for O'Reilly. And Kyogo very unlucky not to score at least 1, maybe 2 or 3, with some lovely touches around the box. They were still delivering balls into the box that were ideal for Adam Ida, not quite so ideal for Kyogo. Back to goal with a big monster behind you. Do you know what I mean? It's like the personnel's changed, lads. You need to change your play. So maybe that's something you need to work on as well. When the wee guy comes in for the big guy, you can't just fire balls into him the way you were firing balls into Ida. But I still nearly got there. So we all know where we are with Kyogo. There's no question marks there. I think Kuhn will come good. Palma, I think, is struggling. Didn't necessarily struggle last night, but I think he's going to struggle a wee bit in the medium to long term.
Team Palma, Team Yang for me. Not for just now, James. We'll discuss it later on. I think there's something
on my
there.
spreadsheet. It's too late.
I thought Kyogo actually played well in terms of his link-up when he came on. He did have a couple of half chances. He put Matt O'Reilly in with a great pass, and O'Reilly actually should have done better. He didn't quite take it in his stride. And I think there's no doubt that Kyogo will have been desperate to score on such a night. You hear the bizarre stat that he's not scored an away goal since October. And I'm going to repeat what I said when we discussed this recently. I couldn't care less if he never scores another away goal again, because as long as Celtic are winning, and as a team, as long as they're doing their job, and he can keep all his goals for the home games against Rangers and Atletico Madrid and other teams, Kyogo's a huge part of what we're doing, and he can be proud of his season's efforts, regardless that he never scored last night. Comment from Colin Stewart saying, outside football stuff, some nice jigging by Louis Palmer. He's spot on. Listen, James, the man may or may not be a player, but he's got moves. He's got some real good snake bits going on, so fair play to him. Moving forward then, so you've got a fifth goal. I don't know if you've seen it in real time. I was, quote unquote, doing the huddle, as everyone does. So you've turned your back on the game. This is great. We're having fun. Geez, we've missed a goal. Did you see it at the time, or did you catch it after the fact?
I've no Gallaghered it. I'm standing facing against the Poznan, just watching the game, thoroughly enjoying it. And I didn't want to take my eyes off it because there was attacks going on as well at the time. And that, I know it's all celebratory and it's part of it and stuff. I'm not sure the Chadwick stand's got too many huddles left in it. That was a bouncy stand, wasn't it? More than you would be comfy with.
The Chadwick trampoline stand, it was.
So I kept my eyes in the game and got to see another wonderful goal. Where do we go? Rio out to Kuhn. It was Rio that had the shot, came back. No, that was the first one. Rio out to Kuhn, and it's into Matt O'Reilly. And it's a congested box. And this is the thing with both Matt O'Reilly and Rio Hatate. They see things that other players don't see. You see congestion. Matt O'Reilly sees a space, and he just went past it through the space. And I think the goal just did one of those. There's no point. It's in. It's behind me. Just a lovely goal from a guy that is just a talent, and we're going to just have to be happy for the time he was here. And that's going to be part of the model, and has to be part of the model for where Celtic are at the moment. Maybe that changes in the future, but talents like O'Reilly will come in, have the 2-3 years, and move on. But yeah, that's the big thing. He sees things that other people don't see, and that's how we got that goal last night.
Yeah, do you know, I was the opposite of that. When I was playing, I used to see the gap and hit congestion, and that's where me and Matt O'Reilly went down a different path. 5-0, just things are going from good to better to brilliant. And then Celtic make another couple of changes, and rightfully so. You've got Tomoki Iwata and Paulo Bernardo. They come on for McGregor and O'Reilly. McGregor has that moment with Joe Hart that we'd mentioned. I'd have loved to have seen Tony Ralston and Stephen Welsh got on, just because of their Celtic credentials and what it means to them. But Brendan Rodgers, I suppose, can't get sentimental. He's thinking, I might need Iwata and Bernardo cup final or whatever. He's got to think of the bigger picture. I could have sworn I seen Tony Ralston singing along with the songs when he was warming up down next days and all that stuff. And you've heard his interview, I'm sure, and you've heard Stephen Welsh talking. No sense of, nose at a joint for not having played. They're as big a part as any. And what you can tell, James, absolutely, is that there's real unity in this squad. They're all in it together. So what do you make of the subs? Was it right to make such a call with the two midfielders?
Yeah, I think so, particularly Tomoki, because it just lets Kilmarnock get a rest. Bernardo as well. We want to see, we do need to see him and need to make a decision on Bernardo in the coming, 4-6 weeks, maybe less. So you want to see what he can do. And there's definitely something there. How much they can coach that to consistency, I really hope they can achieve. He's definitely someone that I've got budgeted to sign in the summer. And Tomoki, I think, we're going to need kind of better players for each position. And with that, I mean guys like Tomoki backing up McGregor, and eventually McGregor will get to a point where he's not quite mobile enough for that, and then it's Tomoki and maybe someone else, but I don't even need to sign anyone there now. So I'm happy enough with the subs. I think you're right. I think it would come down to sentimentality to get two of my favourite Celtic players, as in Celtic fans, on the pitch. There's time for that on Saturday, last half hour stuff, when you're actually then wanting to rest guys for the cup final the week after, and Ralston and Welsh can go on. And it's not sympathy. They are good footballers and they play their part and have played their part this season significantly. So they deserve their place as well.
Yeah, they do. So at that point, James, you're really just counting down the clock for the final whistle. There was a fella in front of us going nuts. They put the board up for 5 minutes extra time. And he's like, cheating, whatever. So I was like, I'd take 5-10 minutes is fine. We might score 6 and 7 goals, but he wasn't having it. He's very anti.
I don't know if he wanted less injury time so he could celebrate, or more injury time because we deserved it and we get more goals. I think no matter what the referee done, he was getting in the neck. So
yeah, it was hard to say. He was a fun man, but he was a complex cat as well. But yeah, so you're counting down the final whistle, and then it's properly party time. Celebrations were brilliant. For a time, of course, we couldn't see because the red flares go up, but it's made for some spectacular photos, and what a buzz for the players as well. I have to say, and this isn't anything new. The fans were incredible. Just everything from start to finish. Just the energy, as I mentioned earlier on, it really played a huge part on the day. And you've seen interviews with, I think it was Alistair Johnson, and he was asked what it means to him and to play in front of these fans. And he says, I can't explain this. He was pointing back to the fans. He says, I try and tell people back home what it's like, but I can't. Don't know what's happened to my screen.
what happened to your screen?
I don't know. And he says, I need to just bring family over and let them experience that for themselves. He said, it's too hard to try and describe the energy that these fans bring. And see, whether you're Alistair Johnson or Adam Eder or whatever, these guys have never seen anything like this in their life. And they're absolutely right to embrace it and to enjoy every moment of it, because footballers will sit down at the end of their career, they'll look at the highlights, and I don't know, people are talking about Josip Juranovic just now. He's either been or just about to be relegated with Union Berlin, and people saying, oh, the grass isn't always greener. I don't fault Juranovic or anybody for going and making the move and picking up the big salary and looking after your family, but you won't get what you get at Celtic. Matt O'Reilly could make a move to somebody like, I don't know, mid-table-ish, like I keep saying Everton, but they've no dough, but Crystal Palace or something like that, although he's better than that, isn't he? In my opinion, he's top 4, if not top 6. But you could go and sit mid-table Premier League and earn absolute fortunes and never win a thing for the rest of your career and never even play in Europe for the rest of your career. So it comes down to what you want as a footballer. And I think anyone that's been involved with Celtic these last few years will really cherish the moments. Some will go into different things, and Matt O'Reilly will likely move on, if not this summer, pretty soon. But I think these players are right to fully enjoy the moments while they can, James.
Yeah, and this is what kind of gets me with Celtic's recruitment negotiating team. It's like, what are you pitching? If you're pitching money, it's not going to work, because I can go and play for some donkey team and get double the money in the Championship. I was going through some of the wages today, and guys on 19 grand. Say James's on 19 grand a week. He could go down to, probably still now, but certainly 2 years ago, he could have gone down to top end, middle end of the Championship and turned that into 40, 50 grand a week. But he knows what this is about, and he's a winner, and he wants to win things, and he wants to enjoy his football and play football the way Celtic play football. So if you're pitching money, then we're not going to win that pitch. If you're pitching achievement, and say it's 2 or 3 years, you're using that time pitch as well to say, come and have a look at some of this. Come and talk to some of the guys that have played at Parkhead or still play at Parkhead. Adam Eder, the buzz he'd have got out of that last night, and he's got friends down in Norwich just having a very average time of football, and if they've got a bad season, the playoffs something and stuff like that. So it's just different, and you've got to play your strengths on that. That is the one big thing we've got that others don't, is that they've got fans that are 24/7 on this. Like I said at the top, it's not a passing hobby, it's something we do every day. And the fans last night, non-stop, start to finish, and the players, they got the benefit of it. I thought the fans were at their best this year, actually, against Hearts a couple of weeks ago. Outstanding in terms of a home game, and the players really get the benefit of it. And it just shows you, it shows every fan the part we've got to play, and by and large do play, and we certainly did last night.
And keeping in mind, Brendan Rodgers had to contend with that issue earlier in the campaign where the Green Brigade were banned and you weren't getting that, that impact within the stadium. And there's no doubt Celtic Park is a very different place with them and without them in the away games, absolutely. And that was just, another one of the many things. Brendan Rodgers has used this term in his interviews last night. He had a lot of managing to do, and he means not specifically the on the park stuff. You had a very sensitive Liel Abada situation. You had the Green Brigade situation. You had the Mark Lawwell situation, which wasn't working out. You had lots of things going on. And I think when he sits down at some point in the next 10 days or so and reflects on the season past, he'll take a breath and just look at everything he had to do. But hopefully he's doing so with a double in the trophy cabinet. Let's take the time, James, to cover Brendan Rodgers just now. He's been on a real redemption journey, hasn't he? Since he came in, famously now saying, I'll see you guys back here in May, or specifically to the doubters, I'll see you back here in May. He stepped on a stage at Celtic Park last night. What was last night? The 15th of May? Something like that.
Yeah.
And he was completely vindicated. I don't know how many was there, Paul, that was with us at the game. He went back with his two young ones, and he said there was something like 4,000 folks there, which is just mind-blowing. And by the way, 11:30, I think it was, by the time the players get back. So it's something else. But for Brendan Rodgers, he's been fully justified. He himself said, used the term last week, I've been treated like a novice. He's been mocked in places. He's been doubted by his own fans in some places, but he's answered all the critics. All you can do is win the title, and he's done it.
Yeah, I mean, when it was first mentioned he was coming, I was like, oh, I'm not sure. He went out in such a way. And then you see what the shortlist is, and he is head and shoulders the best candidate. He's a class manager. Comes in, does the press conference. I was there for the show. And when he said that melee, and I was like, that is bold. But that's a guy that knows his brief and is confident in his abilities. But here comes the transfer window, and we've got another one in January just as bad. So to be as confident as he was, if that doesn't work out, it looks pretty bad. But he said it and he did it, and to be able to stand on that stage last night and say, "I told you I'd see you in May," it's May.
He conceded last night when he was doing press that line put himself under a bit of pressure, but he then quickly said,
meant it.
Well, he quickly said, I'm at my best under pressure. I think that's what you find out, Brendan Rodgers or the players. And this is the thing about life at Celtic, and you'd argue life at Rangers, or at least that's what the challenge is. How do you respond under pressure? There's this whole thing, and I've seen some of the guys in the chat there talking about, there's some Rangers fans at the moment saying, we've lost to mediocrity. Rangers don't lose to Ross County and draw to Dundee because they're not better sides than them. They lose because Celtic have piled on the pressure. Celtic have continued to do their job in the background. Celtic have drawn for each at Ibrox, and all of a sudden Rangers are up against it, and the good teams ride that out and show the strong winning mentality and go on. Celtic, I think, if I've got it right here, have won 9, drawn 1, and lost one of their last 11 league games. The draw against Rangers and the loss to Hearts, they've won 9 games out with that. That's winning mentality. That's title winning stuff, and that's what Rangers couldn't do. I'm fed up of hearing this narrative. It's just two bad lots and they're just as bad as each other. That's something Rangers-minded people say to make themselves feel better. You watched some of Celtic's football last night. You watched the opening goal against Rangers that Matt O'Reilly scored. There is quality in this Celtic side. Yes, we want to see more quality, and Brendan Rodgers has already said we need to improve, and that's a summer job. But for right now, this is a pretty decent Celtic side. They're not the best Celtic side of all time, but it's a pretty decent side. And I think it's about time that some, maybe in the more general mainstream media, give this side the credit they deserve.
You've been waiting a while.
It might be.
I just don't see it. It's, the congratulations was always given through gritted teeth. We know that, and that's fine. That gives us a wee bit of extra drive. We'll take that and we'll use it. I think the way Rodgers has the team structured, the way that he's got them structured to play football, is exactly what we want to see as Celtic fans. I think some of the personnel change in the summer will make improvements in that regard. Some guys who are first team will become, support on the bench, and some guys who are on the bench will be gone. That's how you've got to move through the gears. Make yourself better all the way through the club. But I don't see the style of football changing. I think it's quite a dominating style of attacking football, in terms of you dominate the ball, you dominate possession, and then everyone knows that. You saw it last night multiple times. Whenever we got the ball, whenever one of our players had the ball, no matter where he was, the other guys knew exactly where they needed to be when we were in possession and we were starting an attack or mid-attack or whatever. So maybe it took a wee bit longer than Rodgers would have liked, but they know exactly how to play his football, and it's a joy to watch. I'm just not having mediocre. You don't score goals like we've done the last few weeks if you're a mediocre team. You do collapse under pressure if you're a mediocre team.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen. I think as well, I don't think Brendan Rodgers' style has changed dramatically across the season. It's just that he's currently asking better players to adopt that style. We're at full strength. Dyson Mider's return from injury meant for the first time this season, Celtic had every player to call upon. And that's what you're seeing. You're generally seeing your best 11, 12, 13 players at this moment in time, with some decent reserves coming in. And it's little wonder that the play's improved. And also the players have had more time to get used to Brendan Rodgers. You would like it to have clicked into gear in August, September, October. but it didn't. You know, we'd done well in flashes. We won at Ibrox. There was a few other decent performances in Europe. But going from Ange and his unique football back to Brendan Rodgers and his more... Ange's kamikaze football, Brendan Rodgers' controlled football, they're very, very different. And I think it took a wee bit more time for the players to get on board. And Brendan Rodgers has mentioned such in his comments recently. But yeah, to draw a line under last night, James, brilliant performance in the pitch, brilliant performance in the stands, incredible back at Celtic Park, and just a really, really worthy title winners for Celtic and a huge feel-good doing the rounds just now. So on that, we'll take a glance ahead to Trophy Day, which will be on Saturday. I'm losing track of the days. This is Thursday. Tomorrow, Friday, we'll do a full pre-match. We'll just podcast every day this week. There's always something, but we'll do a full pre-match tomorrow. But just as we start to wrap this one up, James, your own thoughts on what we can look forward to at Celtic Park, 12:30 kickoff.
So I was up getting the tickets today. The efficiency that is the queue, and you could just see there was works getting done. There was guys on the rafters at Parkhead, so they're obviously putting stuff together for those mad kind of big fiery things that they fire out, and there'll be ticker tapes and whatever. So, but we've still got to win the game as well. You're not wanting to have a title party without a win, and everyone will be striving to do that. Everyone's looking to retain or attain a place in the Scottish Cup final, first 11. So there'll be good drive on the pitch. There'll be a party atmosphere in the stands, as has become fairly routine 18 times in the last 24 years. It's just going to be a great day, a carnival day, because I can't even remember how many tickets we got for last night, but it's nothing like you'll get inside Celtic Park. So there's a lot of folk missed out. We bumped into Kieran Owens, a friend of ours in our group, his son, and he'd gamely gone down but no ticket, so he'll get to enjoy all of the razzmatazz that comes on Saturday and maybe a couple of beers after.
Yeah, definitely. Big thanks as always to everyone that's joined us in the live. G-Doc he's put a reminder up for everyone to make sure you like and subscribe what we're doing. Please do that. But it reminds me as well, I had asked G-Doc, he said that in his 67 years watching Celtic, last night was his second favourite. What was the favourite, James? Did you catch it? Love Street 86. And I think it's hard to argue with that, but we're going to discuss more of that in the show because we've got various different listeners of different ages, James, some young, some old, and there'll be memories that some of the younger folks don't have and various different tales to tell. But whether it's, I don't know, stopping the 10 in 98, Love Street 86, title for Tommy, Ange's first title, centenary season titles, there's plenty to choose from. There's 18 to choose from in the last 24 years. So there's lots to go around. So thanks to G-Doc and everyone for sharing their comments on the live. James, your own final comments for the show.
It's champions again. It's what a season. They put us through the ringer, won it despite all of the challenges that are in the way, never made any excuses about it, just got on with the job at hand. And that's why we're champions. So on to Saturday to enjoy that and then knuckle down for the Scottish Cup final.
Yeah, just another two huge occasions to look forward to. As I say, thanks to everyone for joining us in the live. It really makes a big difference to what myself, James, and the guys can do on the show in terms of the conversation. So we really appreciate that. And thanks, of course, to everyone who continues to listen to the Celtic Exchange podcast. As mentioned, we'll be back tomorrow, Friday, with the countdown to kick-off ahead of Trophy Day on Saturday. But in the meantime, thanks as always, guys. We'll see you again very soon.